guys, Hannah here, and welcome to part 3 of my contribution for the Artists in Residence group. So this video is to go with part 1 and part 2, where I showed you how to make the artist trading coins using materials you have around the house. And the second video was just giving you an idea of how I decorated them, and hopefully to give you a few ideas as to how you can decorate your own. This final video, I'm going to show you a variety of methods that I've used to create holders and cards and boxes and displays for gifting or trading your artist trading coins. And I'm going to split them into different groups, and at the end I'm going to show you how to make some of the mini purpose-sized envelopes for a couple of the different sized artist trading coins. So the first ones I've made, they're little sleeves, they're little pockets, and I've made them in different sizes. And I've actually used materials that I've got just sitting around the house, and I've created little sleeves. This ATC I made actually in the shape of a heart, and I really quite like it, but I've made a little box, and you've probably noticed that on the front I've used one of the little buttons that I created using some of the really small ATC sizes. For this one again, I've used one of the buttons and some string. Oops. And I've just used this one to create, this was the pinky ready one that I showed in the last video. This is now finished. The adventure begins. And then on the back I've just decorated it with a heart and love. And what I'm going to do at the end of this video is I'm going to show you how to make these little mini envelopes, so you can, I wouldn't put them through the post, but you can gift them to friends and family. And this one is a little bit wider. I've actually done this for a hanging 3-part. It's a large ATC, but I've made it using some butterflies. And yes, butterflies, they're all 3 are butterflies. And then just a little sentiment saying, thinking of you. And for these ATCs, I've created a box that you can flip the lid open, and it flips out, and it holds your ATCs. So what I'll do is I'll just move these ones out of the way, and I'll go through each one of them with you so you can see the completed coins. So this one opens up this way, and I've got 3 of the green ones in there. And just so you can see this one here, I've actually coated this with a Mod Podge, just a clear one, just to see if I preferred the finish. And I've put 2 holes in so that these can join together to be hanging ones if I choose. I decided that I didn't like that finish. I did some with a matte and some with a satin finish, and I didn't actually like them with the Mod Podge finish or the varnish, so I didn't do many more. This one I've done for the slightly larger ATCs, and it's a flip out, and it has 2 in. And here are 2 of the words I'd cut out of one of my magazines I'd finished with. And I really like the way this orange has come out. Those flecks of pink and red and yellow really do show up quite nicely. This one here I've done, and again you notice I'm using the buttons. They're also the artist trading coins, but they're much smaller. and this is for the large ones. And I created 2 purples, which is my favourite colour, and it says I love art. And you can see that you can create these little fold outs for any size ATCs, and I think they're really good to give as a gift, especially if you're going to be trading, or if you're making them to think of your friends and family while we're all stuck in isolation. And this one I've done in 2 different ways, just to show you the difference. So this has got a larger slot, and you'll notice that it's got that cutout which you can get in easily. And this one's got a narrower one, and it hasn't got that slot in, but it still goes in and out quite well. So when you make yours, just decide which ones, or which way should I say, you prefer. And then this one, oops, and the next one are 2 little dinky ones that I really do like. Actually, I'll open them out that way. And therefore the smaller, second from smallest one. And this one says smile from, oh, this one doesn't want to come out, smile from the heart. And you'll see this is one of the words I cut out from one of those magazines. And they're quite fiddly, but I have to say I really love the way they've come out. And this is the green one I did. You remember in part 2 I showed you how to do the 4 greens, although I've made this one just to hold the 3 because the 4th one is in a different sleeve. And there are the dots, the water dots I did with watercolour. And then on the other side you'll see that these are the ones that I created using the plastic caps, the lid caps. And here's the scrap paper card that I had left over. And I have to say, again, I'm very pleased with the way that they've come out. And please excuse my voice. I know I sound a bit like a smurf, but I shall carry on until my voice is gone completely. Oops, and this is the final one that I've done, method for holding them. And this one says, this is my happy place. And again, I love the way that these oranges and pinks and yellows have turned out. And I've done just completely different patterns on the back. So moving on from those little sleeves, I decided I wanted to make some of my little artist trading coins into gifts that I can send out to those friends and family that might just need a little bit of happy mail to cheer them up. So what I've done on these ones is I've just grouped them together in colour, and then I've decorated them. I've just stuck them onto some white cardstock, and then I've decorated the leaves and trees. And I've done the same for these cards, although they're much larger. And I've put them on grey card and the beige card, and I really think the purple works nicely on those. And then I've done 2 more, and I think it's just a lovely gift to give to somebody, or just to keep in the house when you want to send out a card. And for these ones I decided just to make some purpose-made boxes just to fit the medium size ATCs, but then I realised after making them that I could actually fit several in there. I didn't make them for those size, I actually made them, oops, that's upside down, I made them to fit this size because I made this one to give to my parents. And I thought, well, if I give them to somebody in the family to pass on, then they can have them in a little box. And again, I've just made this one where I've put a couple in there, and I think they're really quite cute. They're not really sturdy, they've not got MDF, but they're nice just to give as a gift, and then at least whoever you give them to has got something nice to hold them in. And then I decided that if I was going to be making as many as I am, and I'm going to be trading them, then I wanted something to keep for myself in a little journal where I can actually see what I've made or what I've traded with somebody else. So I made some little sleeves that have got a clear front, and I used the clear packaging from some of the mail I've received, and I've just made a little sleeve and cut a hole in the front to put the cut coins in. And for the little one, I've done it, and although it was very fiddly because it's so small, I can actually group together several at a time, and it's just a nice way. It's just a nice way to keep them together. And then for the next size up, I've done one again where they've all got the clear front cover, and if I squeeze this slightly I can just take them out, and you'll notice that they don't have the flap on the top. I kept that off so I can put them in from the side. And again, you can make it to fit however many you want to hold. And then finally for this holders, I've just made it for the ones that are the next size up, and again I've done a side flap, and I've just used oddments of matching cardstock that I have around the house, and there are the 3 blue ones that I showed you in the last video. And I have to say that out of all the ones I made, these were the most time consuming, but I actually would probably make them and store them for myself this particular way. And then finally I've made some little individual sleeves that fit the small ones and then the next size up, and these are the ones I'm going to show you how to make. So I've used leftover cardstock, but I've tried to match it in a set. So for example, this one here, it is the same card but it's reversed, and again I've just got that little pouch there to put them in, and again you can make them in with different cardstocks. You can decorate them using the little buttons that I made out of the really small ones if you wanted to, or you can just leave them as it is, and again they come in a little mini pouch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the materials together that we need so I can show you how to make these, and I'll be back in a mo with all the dimensions and everything else. So I've collected together all the materials that I need to create this part, and I'll go through them with you, but I'll also write a list at the bottom. So in no particular order, I have a long ruler and a pencil. I have some acrylic glue. I'm not sure it matters too much whether you use acrylic glue or bookbinding glue because it's paper. I've got a couple of clips. This is just to hold it together until the glue dries. I've got a scoring tool and a scoring board. I have a small punch, and I have a corner punch, but you can use a pair of scissors for both of those. A pair of good scissors, nice scissors, not blunt ones. And I've got a couple of these are 12 by 12 cardstock, And I've just chosen a couple of sheets where I like the front and I like the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim them down to size, and I'm going to show you them in 3 different measurements. So I've cut the cardstock down into 3 different sizes. So we've got one here which is going to match this one, so that's for that size ATC. But again, I will put all the measurements for you at the bottom. And then we've got one that's this size that holds that artist trading coin. And then the last measurement is for this size one, which holds that lovely pink one. And again, I will put the measurements for you below. So once you've cut out the 3, I'll show you on the largest one. I have scored using my scoring tool and my scoreboard. I've scored 2 lines. And again, please find the measurements for this below, because they'll be different for each one. So we've now got, here's the bottom flap, and then here's the top flap. So what I want to do on the top flap is I just want to corner off those edges. And again, if you don't have a cornering punch, you can just use your scissors. And then for the bottom, using my pencil, I'm roughly going to find where the centre is, and then using my small circle punch, I'm just going in, oops, and I'm cutting that out. Now I always save those pieces because they can be used for future projects. So this is what we've got at the moment, and you'll see that it will fit this one here. Now, if I beg your pardon, that's not the right size. It will fit the large one. Sorry, my head is a bit woolly today, so it will fit that one there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to remove this and get some kitchen roll, and I shall be right back. So now I've got everything set up. I'm just double checking that this fits comfortably with a little bit around the either side of the ATC, and you'll notice that when you push it down it does come in slightly. Don't worry too much about that. And then with my acrylic glue, I'm just going to put right on the edge a line down that side to the first fold, and it's important that you don't put too much on, otherwise you'll end up sealing the gap and you won't be able to fit the ATC in. And what I like to do here is I will get it to about that part, that stage, and then in the centre I put the ATC just so that I can get a feel for it. And then using another piece of kitchen roll, I just add pressure, and then I go back in with my scoring tool or your bone folder, whichever one you happen to have to handle your thumb, and then I will remove that because I don't want any glue sticking on it. And then using my little clips, I'm clipping it to the edge so that it dries. Now most acrylic glue will dry relatively quickly, and if you're using something like the Aleene's tacky glue, you have a little bit of wiggle room, but I would probably leave that for about 10 minutes, and then we would come back to it and then finish off the next stage. So now that this glue has dried, you can see that it's sealed completely on both sides, and I've pushed it slightly out so that there's a little bit of wiggle room, and it will just come in and out. Now you can leave it there as finished and you could hang it over a gift as a gift, or if you wanted to, you could make some of the tiny little ones that I've made where I've punched a hole like a button. Or I just found in my stationery drawer, I've just found 2 blue clips, and you can make a hole and put them in. And apologies if you can't see that particularly well, they are rather small. So using just an old scrap of white string, probably something I've kept from a birthday or Christmas present, you can measure to find where the centre is. And if you're going to make, there's the centre. If you're going to put the button on, you're going to need 2 holes, or 4 if you decide to put 4 in. But if you're going to use one of these, then you just need the 1 hole. So decide which one you want to use. And then the way that I do my string is I taper it off, again using sharp scissors. And then I just put a tiny dollop of glue. Let's see if I can get that there, and on that side. And it really is a small bit of glue, and I just twist it around, and I just would hold that until the glue had dried. So while that's drying, I'm just going to make this hole. And those of you that are doing it with children, when you're making this hole, please be careful, because whatever you're using to pierce it with, we don't want you to end up poking any fingers. So I'm just making that hole, and then I'm going to put the sharp, good grief, this is slippery, it's sliding around all over the place. Just put that sharp end in there. Now when it gets to that point, you just want to leave a tiny, it raised slightly, because if it's completely flush you won't be able to wrap it round. So hopefully you can see there it's not flat, and then just wrap it around as many times as you want, and then that's pretty much it. To use the button style one, you would do exactly the same, but instead of gluing it in, you would you'd make 2 holes in the top on this side, and then you would just you'd poke the string through underneath here and then through there, and then tie it off at the end. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this 3-part video session, and again, apologies for my voice and for my woolly head. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I would love to see your artist trading coins and any boxes and pouches that you might make to hold yours. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye.